I'm ready.
Oh, hell yeah.
I'm
Okay.
ready.
We got this. Say something real fast.
Something real fast.
Ooh. Can always depend on you to do that.
Old Faithful.
All right. Good evening and welcome to another exciting episode of Goth Yearbook. It is our host, as always, Eric, aka the Eric Wynn, and with us, as always, is the hostess with the mostest, Caitlin, aka the Caitlin D. Caitlin, how's it? Riveting.
So it's the rumors are true. I today I did I partook in Mr. Toad's wildest ride.
Hell
I
yeah.
I smoked frog venom or toad venom.
Wait, okay. Let's backtrack a little bit. What did you do exactly?
Okay, so I did a bufo ceremony,
Uh
which is I literally am doodling it to make sure I get this right.
huh.
So it's a it's like a Sonoran desert toad that they take the venom from, and you like smoke it in this ceremonial setting with a practitioner who like it's done in like a religious ceremony type of way, the same way
Right.
like
Right.
ayahuasca
Right.
or like any sort of plant medicine that you're doing would be done.
Right.
Um, uh, it's also so the like chemical in it is 5-MeO DMT. So
Did you just cast a Harry Potter
it's
spell on
something
me?
that like our bodies will yes.
I just realized we
But it's
didn't
something
even
that like
say
our
that we're
body
wearing the same shirt, by the way.
yeah, we're both Caitlin D tonight because post Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, just the universe is just nothing. It's Caitlin D's all the way down.
Nice.
um, I like that you look all crystal clear, and I also look like I have like a Vaseline filter. I have like look like it's the first season of RuPaul's Drag Race
Yeah.
over here.
You look
I
like
think
you
it's
were
just
kidnapped.
I think it's just glue. uh, yeah, we'll get to our crime news after, but it was a really awesome experience, and what I really enjoyed about it too is that like a lot of these plant medicines and stuff involve purging, and this is involved a purge. Like I feel a lot more clear, but it came out energetically, and
Hmm.
like for me it was like crying, and also literally just like I was like doing like energy body work on my.
Uh oh. Caitlin. Oh no. I think we might have.
Oh, am I cutting out?
Yeah, you cut out real bad there.
Sorry,
You
my
might need to do a reset if you need to. I can vamp for 5 or so minutes if you need to do a reset because it keeps cutting you out real bad.
okay, let me
Uh,
BRB.
I'll vamp. I'll vamp. All right. So hello. This is what I've been waiting for my whole life. Actually, it's just to. We don't need these other people on the show. You got old Papa Eric, and that's all you need. While we're waiting for Caitlin, I'm going to answer some of the questions that were sent in, and I'll pose them to Caitlin when she gets back. So, boom, boom, boom. Where was it? Okay, we got some summer styled questions. Caitlin, are you still here? I can't tell if you're here, if you're officially gone or not. There they go. Okay, now they're officially gone from the ether. I can't tell if they're back or not. They keep coming in and out like a disembodied voice, like a. Are you there? This
I'm
is.
here.
Did you hear all that? Oh no.
My pronouns are she, her, by
Oh shit! This is
I
too
don't
good.
I don't appreciate being okay. So is this any better? I'm sorry, it's really unstable right now.
It's all good. This will work. I feel like we're back to like the normal time again because there was a long delay in your response. I could tell.
Okay.
So you were licking this frog.
I was I was sucking on this frog's skin, and
Can
just
I
tripping balls.
can I give the quick backstory of Caitlin earlier this week on Monday or so was like, oh, by the way, I'm gonna have like I'm gonna be like dipping my toes into a psychedelic experience on Wednesday, and you're like, I'm doing bufo, and I know that that's like related to frogs, and I know that some people lick frogs and shit. I honestly don't know how it's done, but I thought you were fucking with me too. And for the last 2 days, I didn't know for sure until last night that you were actually doing it. And I honestly thought that because I'm a fucking idiot. I honestly was picturing you like I was like, oh, at this retreat, like they lick a frog,
No, no, it's a toad, first of all. And no,
toad,
it's
whatever.
like you like vapor I think it was like vaporized and like you inhale it.
The toad was vaporized. Good God, it's fucked up.
Just the venom. Um yeah, it was a great experience. I felt like it was
Was this
like
like a
this.
controlled environment?
Yes, absolutely. It was like a very there's a it was with the practitioner. It was actually like pretty in the jungle,
Uh
like
huh.
down here and at their house, and like overlooking the jungle and the ocean. It was really beautiful. Um my experience personally with it, because I already have done a lot of like work in meditation and like I've had out of body experiences, I believe. Like I have this already framework of reality. It's not like my whole framework of reality was like burst open or anything, you know.
Right.
I feel like it's about as open as it could be without falling apart.
Right.
Um, but I have been feeling lately a lot of trouble connecting to like my experience,
Mm-hmm.
and I've been having this feeling of being like, I know I should be happy right now, but and I know like, oh, I'm at this beautiful beach and I'm like in nature and I'm just like I'm not feeling it, you know.
Right.
um and I've been sort of like working a lot with like, okay, meditation and like getting my mindset right and staying vigilant about like my subconscious beliefs and how I'm working towards new subconscious beliefs, all these things like therapy, dreams, like all the things I know how to do, right?
Right.
And I've just been feeling this massive disconnect still between like the environment and me and my experiences even in me, and it really just felt. And even the other day I was actually like getting my eyebrows dyed and waxed, and I was like lying on this table, and it felt like I felt like a butterfly, like if you wanted to trap like a bug or something and you put someone put like a giant glass over it,
Oh, okay. Okay. I get that.
like very Sylvia Plath, right? Like
Right. Yeah.
literally the bell jar, like, or the, is that
Or
what
the
it's called?
or the oven. Yes, it is. Or the oven that trapped her body.
I was like, is it called the glass jar? um
No, you had it right.
doesn't have the same ring to it. um but it literally, like, it's something that I'm like, I've been working on it and working on it. It just felt like it wasn't budging.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that has been coming up for me a lot lately has been like learning how to receive and ask for help and like be in that like feminine energy of like, and I keep getting sick down here. And I even have these
Right.
friends who are like really nice and they're willing, they're always like, do you need anything? Like, how can I help? Blah, blah, blah. And like my first instinct is constantly like, how fucking
Yeah.
dare you?
I can see that.
Like, how dare
I'm
you
an
suggest?
independent fucking woman who can sustain myself on my own. I picture you like dying as you say it. Like
Yeah.
it's
And
coming out like. Brrr.
meanwhile, I have like 103-degree fever
Yeah.
and like am highly contagious and really shouldn't be out in the world like doing anything for myself. And I didn't leave the house when I was, you know, but it was like, yes, I
Didn't leave
do.
the house.
I need medicine. I need food. Like I desperately need help.
Yeah.
Um, and I have had a lot of resistance to doing these different medicine practices that are all legal down here, by the way, which is why I'm able to talk about it freely. And it was like such a ego thing that I had to move through to be like, I can't necessarily meditate my way through this. I can't
Right.
like it's okay to like accept help from these medicines that exist in the world. And even like I had, so when I was like recovering from this virus, I was so stuffy. I like could not breathe. I was so congested. And I was like breathing apple cider vinegar. I was
Oh no. I think
potting, with
oh there you go.
like and like to gargling salt water and like doing all this stuff. And finally, I just like went to the pharmacy and bought like Sudafed, and I was like 15 minutes later, I was like, like I can
Sometimes,
breathe.
yeah, you
But
forget that, like, oh yeah, NyQuil sometimes does the trick.
exactly, like I have so much resistance to just like doing things that are easy
Yeah. Well, that's good in a
because
sense, in some ways.
it it can be, but it can also like I can
Lead
really
to the
make my life
stubbornness.
a lot harder than it needs to be.
Yeah, as we saw.
Um yeah, and so basically like a lot of this experience this morning with the bufo was just me sort of like it really felt like it just allowed it was like someone came and took the jar off me, and it was
Right.
like, oh, like all these years of like walls that I've built up to like protect myself. And even when it first started, I had this compulsion to start like doing energy work on myself and literally like be like pulling like stuff out of my hands and out of my chest, and like um and that's stuff that I do when I'm working, like doing body work, and I can feel it. But lately, I haven't felt connected to that at all. And my sense about it was like, oh, I like I have probably a million impulses per day, like based on like my body emotions that I shut down because I don't want people to be like, what are you doing? Or like,
Right.
this looks weird, like explain yourself. Because how many times in my life have I been in that position where just because other people can't feel these energy strands or like
Right.
all these things, I don't want to feel like a freak. So I stop myself from doing these things. And it's like no wonder like life has sort of lost its color because I've like created all these filters between like my own impulses and the way I'm showing up in the world.
Right.
Um, so that was really cool to see. And then you're gonna like this. Guess who showed up?
Michigan J Frog himself.
Johnny Cash is one of my
Oh,
spirit
I
guides.
should have known. I was trying to think in my head. I was like, who would have been? I was thinking Dinah maybe. Oh my gosh, Johnny, the man in black himself. He comes to you sometimes,
The
and
Man in Black.
he is like a sort of a tether or whatever you want to call it between these things. Did he have any words of wisdom, or was it just his presence as like a metaphor or something?
It wasn't even like well, I guess in the sense of like a metaphor, sure, but like every single time I've had like a really deep psychedelic, or the one of the times it was like I went to see this shaman and it was just through breath work that I'd gotten to like a super altered state.
Mm-hmm.
Um and I'm trying to remember the other time. I think it was when I was sick or something. I'm not quite sure, but like every single time I'm like really in the weeds of like not in the weeds, but that I'm having like a really like strong, like otherworldly sort of altered state experience, Johnny Cash shows up.
Mm.
And usually he just comes to hang out.
That's pretty
And this
chill.
time it felt like I could like see him sort of like looking out at the ocean and like leaning up against the railing or like leaning like his elbows on the railing, like looking at the jungle and the ocean and just being like, this is real nice.
I'm Johnny Cash, and this is a real nice jungle.
Hello, I'm Johnny Cash. Yeah, he was just like appreciating the beauty of the space and like being connected to it. And then at one point, I felt like I like asked him to come and sit down with me, and he just felt like this really like powerful, safe masculine energy
Mm.
that was sort of like allowing me to like have this release where I felt like that like classic sort of masculine feminine archetypes where it's like the man is sort of sitting strongly and
Yeah,
stoically while I'm just like ah!
and he penetrates the heart with his masculine energy.
Yeah, so that was really cool. And then that's actually when I got like a really clear message for my intuition, because I've been thinking about moved down here not necessarily wanting to be here forever, but to do some healing and to like just sort of get out of LA and go on an adventure and open my world up. And but what am I going to do after that's over? And I've been really like stressing out thinking about it because I haven't been to a lot of places in America. I'm from Los Angeles and I have no desire to live in Los Angeles right now, nor could I live in Los Angeles anymore. It's become so insanely expensive.
Yeah.
And before I planned on moving down here, I actually had started looking at Nashville, Tennessee, or different places in Tennessee. And yeah, long story short, I won't go super into that, but there was like a really clear intuition that that was like a good next move for me, and that there was like a reason I was being called there. And I think it's interesting too, because like since I was a little kid, my two of my top idols, favorite people in the world, are Dolly Parton and Johnny Cash.
Right.
And they both have like a long-standing history in that town and in Tennessee in general. So I'm starting to get excited about that landscape and just looking at like what are the opportunities there for me, for a girl like me. And
For a
Southern
little,
men
yeah,
sound great.
little Southern belle like me. What's a gal to do?
Mm-hmm. I'm sure they hate Californians there, but whatever, Nashville, I'm coming.
Yeah.
So if anyone, any friends of the show have any hookups in Nashville, hit me up. And if you guys get the opportunity to like come down to, you know, somewhere that it's legal to do Bufo, I highly recommend it. It was a really nice experience. I definitely can see how people would be overwhelmed because there was like a big moment of like I felt like I was like going through a sort of a portal, and a lot of people describe it as like it feels like a near death experience. I didn't necessarily feel that way. I felt, but I also do a lot of practice like staying in my body throughout the day. Like
Right.
I wake up, I meditate, I get centered, I focus on my breath for 15 to 30 minutes before I go to sleep. I do the same thing. So for me, it's like when I start to get that overwhelming sensation of like, oh, well, what's going on? I'm losing my body's dissolving. I'm like, that's fine. You know,
Right.
like I don't particularly need that right now. I just need to like stay anchored in the breath and I can find my way home that way. So I do recommend if it's something you're interested in, you know, like finding someone who you feel really safe with. I'm happy to answer questions about it if anyone has them. And yeah, that was Mr. Toad's Wild Ride.
Oh, I dig it. I like it. And you'll
And I
get
didn't
some.
have to barf, which is my favorite part of Bufos.
Oh, nice. Yeah, the name leaves something to be desired. I feel like they could. I feel like they should call it going on Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. I did look it up because after we were talking about it, I did like Google it a little bit and did say like people have reported like instantly being cured of like depression after an experience with it. Like probably momentarily, of course. Depression is one of those things that takes more than that, but I'm sure it does help lift the veil for a lot of people and at least help them to tackle the thing that maybe was hidden behind the veil that was causing the depression or the depression like things.
I mean, yeah, honestly, I can say that today, throughout the day, it was like colors came back. It looked like it
Yeah.
was different weather, you know. And I even was sitting at one point, we were checking out this hotel earlier, and I was sort of sitting and looking out at the ocean. And this was really cool. I actually was thinking to myself, okay, like I'm looking at this beautiful landscape. I'm checking in with myself. Am I feeling joy right now? And I was trying to look at it really honestly and be like open to like maybe this didn't solve all my problems. And right at that moment, this fucking dolphin just like leaps out of the
Ah,
water where I'm looking. And I was just like, well, now I am.
the Lisa Frank gods themselves shine down on you on that one.
Truly. I mean, and I have, as everyone who has listened to this podcast for any degree of time knows, like, that's my family. And it was like, Johnny Cash is my spirit guide and I'm a dolphin. You're all caught up.
It's just so funny to imagine, like, without any context, like, for anyone who hasn't been paying attention, the dolphins are my family.
um, but yeah, it was really cool. And honestly, today, like, I was tackling some really, like, more mundane things. And I've been having a lot of, like, questions within myself lately about like, okay, like I've been doing this healing career for a while, and like what do I want to do next, and like do I have to stick to that because it's like a noble quote unquote profession, and like the world needs healing right now, or can I be exploring other options? And it was very much like as I was like working through these questions after I got home today, it didn't hold that same like energy of like shame and like freaking out, and there was still like some confusion and like uncertainty, but it wasn't, it felt more like, oh, I could just try, like, oh, like research this and there's time to figure it out, and money is just something that like you just do stuff for money. It's not that big of a deal. Like I didn't have all these like associations with it about who I was being wrong,
Right.
you know.
Right.
So that is really cool, and obviously it's going to take me time, but when you say like, yeah, it can cure depression, I honestly think it's like really good to go into these things with the attitude of like, maybe it fucking can,
Right.
maybe it's possible I don't have to live with this forever, because I think part of the programming that we're like taught to believe is like, you have a disease and you're going to have this for the rest of your life. And I understand why people want to set realistic expectations, but I
Mm.
also think that sometimes you're just setting yourself up to fail when you're like, yeah, this is going to help, but it's actually not. Because
Yeah, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy of sorts when you allow yourself to have that negative end, because you just, whether it's conscious or subconsciously, you're going to kind of like, I don't know, forgive yourself to then lapse into probably poor behavior and bad habits that just compound the depression or the whatever it is that's happening.
yeah, and I feel like if I wanted to focus myself into feeling like a shameful failure and like whatever right now, I probably could. But
Well, we all have that capacity.
but I don't feel like drawn into it. Like I don't feel
Yeah.
the gravity towards it. And
I,
that's a big deal when you live your life that way.
yeah,
And you're constantly like trying to climb out of it.
it it's funny that you say that. I've never thought that about that before, but when you, whether it's people who experience it just in episodes or it's a consistent thing or it's like a once in a great while thing, there is such a weird, I don't want to say like allure or attraction, but there is like a magnetic pull. Like you allow yourself to romanticize it, I think, at least in our society specifically. Like there are times where you can romanticize almost that. And it's also just like, it can be very easy to tap out and like give into that, and it's a magnetic thing, that negative energy to like give into it. People, I always see people say like it's so much easier to like be happy than sad. I'm like, not really. Like I feel like
Maybe for
it's,
you.
yeah, I feel
Yeah.
like it's real fucking easy to be sad and depressed and like whatever
Well,
you want to call it.
well, and I think on a neurological level, it's just because like those are the, well, it's like the well-worn path, you know, where
Yeah.
it's like if water's going down a mountain and there's a dip, like you go, and that's, you created all these synaptic connections that are like, oh, I'm not good enough, I'm not, you know, like I
Mm.
have all these associations, whatever, and habits, right? It's so much easier to do the thing you're habitually used to. What's cool about medicines like this is like, they apparently, she was, the practitioner was telling me today, it's apparently a lot, like your neuroplasticity after sessions like this is way more, like you're a lot more plastic for the next couple of weeks.
Mm.
So if you are, you have to also do the work of
Right.
being
Yeah.
like, I'm going to focus on these things. But it, like, I can definitely say that today, like right now, I feel way less like pulled into that depth, and way more inclined to just be like, oh, like I could just focus. And like now knowing too, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna like make some hypnosis recordings for myself and like do this subconscious reprogramming, you
Right.
know, because like it's all it is just repetition with your subconscious. If you repeat something enough times, like your brain will eat it up and believe it. The
Right.
problem is most of us just don't like exert that amount of conscious control over our subconscious beliefs. And
Absolutely.
when
Yeah.
you're, sometimes I really think in this situation, like, could I have reprogrammed myself over years with a lot of focus and a lot of effort and a lot of energy? Absolutely. But it's like, it made it a lot easier to just break through. And it's not even something I can describe in a rational sense. It just someone like reached in. And well, what it was too, I forgot to mention this, but like I felt a connection to the earth, like the actual energy of the earth,
Mm-hmm.
that was, it felt like reuniting with like a long lost friend.
Right.
And I was like, oh, I've done all these things to prevent myself from feeling this energy because it was weird, or like we just get disconnected. We're in technology, we're all up in our heads. And when I actually connected down into it, I literally was crying. And it was like the same feeling as when you're like hugging a best friend that you haven't seen in person for years and years. And it was like so like wonderful and joyful. And it's like even just that connection, of course, can make you feel so much happier
Well,
because
yeah.
you
I
remember that you're like part of a system.
well for the Torian in you, I'm sure like is joyful to like have a grounded feeling again, because you were mentioning the feeling of like being under glass, and it's like for someone who does not like to that sensation of like being untethered and floating, I'm sure that's hard for you when there's a little bit of disassociated day by day. The Taurus in you must have just been like screaming, so I can understand why this was especially like healing for you.
Yeah, especially when it's like I live in a concrete house next to the ocean. I bathe in the ocean. I've been, like I've been doing all these things where it's like, why can't I fucking get grounded,
Yeah.
And I have like a copper bathtub. Like it's just, but to actually like be able for, I don't know, for something to like come in and just be like, yoink, here's your connection back.
Yeah.
Yeah, super, super awesome and powerful. And it's always a pleasure to see, of course, Mr. Cash.
Shout out, we see you, we love you, Mr. Cash. Um, a quick shout out as far as like what's been new with me. You'd like this, Caitlin. I didn't get a chance to talk to you about this yet, but we've been making space on the show recently for the Dream Boy Book Club All Stars, Lily Lady and Jonathan Blake Foster. I apologize. And uh, now friend of the show Lily hit me to a book event that was happening this weekend that was hosted by Stoya, the famous, I believe now retired adult star. And I was on the assumption that was like I was thinking the whole time, I was like, Caitlin's going to crack up when you hear about this. I was on the assumption it was like a online Zoom thing where it was like a bunch of writers who were going to like read their stuff, and it was going to be like the way a lot of Zoom events are, where like it's everyone without their camera on besides like the people reading, and it'd be like a
Uh-huh.
million square Zoom boxes, all cameras off, all mics off. And I realized that it was an honest to goodness book club discussion group about her book, the book that we talked about on the show a few weeks ago, Quickie. And okay, so mind you, I got another thing I need to add to this real quickly, and it kind of falls perfectly for like an early little shout out. Next week, I told you about this a few weeks ago, but we finally got confirmation that comedian Todd Glass will be on the show. And I was waiting for a phone call from him actually right when I was starting. So already I was like not planning on having my camera and mic on, and then on top of that, I'd take like this like 10-minute phone call with the guy to like go over like logistics and stuff like that. So the whole time I'm on the phone call with him, the thing had started, and I'm still in the mindset of like thinking it's like this poetry reading thing that I'm just gonna be kind of sitting off in the dark and watching. And I come back, it is like I'm the only box on the thing that's like no mic and no camera. So it looks especially creepy because it looks like because it says like everyone's name, like the way that their program works via Zoom. It like had my full name up, and it's like as if I was just watching, lurking in the shadows while these people were like, it was like sitting in at like an editing meeting at the New Yorker. It was like everyone's using these big words. I'm like, what the fuck? Like I'm trying to pull out a dictionary, and I got Murph jumping on me. And I
Did
realized
you
I
did you
got to
read
say,
the book at least?
yeah, I mean, I'd read it before. It was her book, Quickie, the one that she promoted on
Okay.
our show. So I already read it.
Oh, okay, okay.
But that's the other thing. I didn't realize that was like her being like the person. Yeah. So I didn't realize when she like had hit me to it that she was saying like, "Hey, this is like a book club about my book." And I realized after the fact, like classic, you would laugh, Caitlin. It was classic Eric, where like the event literally said like book club, and the description was like a book club discussion on the book Quickie. It was like everywhere you could possibly see. It was clearly stated up and down. this is a book club and everyone will be discussing this book. And I'm still like, day of 20 minutes into the event, like finally sitting back down in my seat and being like, why is everyone talking? Why are everyone's cameras and mics on? This is very uncomfortable. And then realizing, and I couldn't be a creep. So I finally like turned my camera on. I'm like, hey guys. And because my whole setup here with the mix board and all that, I can't like willy nilly just like unplug my like microphone here, or else it's like I have to restart everything from scratch. So I'm the only one there too. I'm holding a fucking like microphone during this like book club discussion thing at like noon on a Sunday. I'm just like, hey guys, how's it going? So shout out to me and my awkward contributions to that book club. I had
I know.
nothing.
I always feel like
Go on, sorry.
I feel like such a dork when I like show up in like therapy or just like a really casual Zoom atmosphere where everyone's like just like laying on their couch and it's like clearly their phone or iPad or something, and I'm like hooked up into my podcast here.
Yeah, same. It was like everyone was chill. No one even had like headphones in, and I'm like with the full cans on and a microphone, and I didn't have the stand hooked up, so I'm like hand holding my microphone and trying to hold up the book and be like, no, I read it too. I promise. Look, I have sticky notes.
Oh man, that's classic.
I don't even remember like what because like everyone was contributing in some way a little bit, so I felt like there was like a lull, and like there's like there's like a little raise your hand button option, so I raised it, and it was like a little bit of delay too, so it was like 20 seconds. Like, Eric, Goth Yearbook, did you have something you want to say? Like, I felt like I was in the first grade. Like, yeah, I like the scene where I'm like trying to hold. This is why I don't. This is why like it's so hard for me to go out there and network and like.
Oh, I feel you.
Yeah, and Lily, to her credit, she was very nice afterwards, but she was like, "Why didn't you plug your show after all that?" She even said your name, and I was like, I lack that fucking. Like, I was like, you're right, I should have, and I didn't even think about it. Which made it even more awkward because everyone had their full names, and she goes, Eric Goth Yearbook, the Stoya who's like running it, and I don't even bother to be like, well, yeah, this is because my show's called Goth Yearbook. I'm just like, yeah, that's like my normal name. Like, yes, that's me.
Yeah, I would.
You're cutting out real bad. I might need you to repeat that again.
Oh, I said, I think you're overthinking it a little.
Oh, me? Neurotic?
Like, I don't think anyone from that meeting is probably remembering any of this.
They're all fucking laughing. I know it. The other thing I wanted to quickly talk about, because you're who I go to with my dreams, and I had such a powerful, vivid dream last night that I wanted to like present to you. I feel like there's an obvious like what it might be about, but I want to see I want your take on it. So it was so powerfully vivid and like felt long that I didn't even have to write it down. And like all the aspects of it have still stayed throughout the whole day. But without getting like too in the weeds of like sharing a dream, the basic, and this is the craziest part, Caitlin, is I always dream like POV style, like the way that I live life. Like I'm the main character and I'm like, but this is one of the very rare dreams I've ever had where I'm like, watching a movie. Like I wasn't involved at all. Like I was like watching other people interact as if it was like me watching a movie. Excuse me. But the basic gist was that this was a town that for all intents and purposes felt kind of like Laurel Canyon. And in this town, like is one of those things where you just kind of know everything in the dream. Once a year, this like fog, like this dense fog rolls slowly down like the top of the mountain, and like if you get caught in it you die, and like the way you die is you like turn like rapidly like gray, almost like biblical, like you turn to a pillar of salt, but it's like people turn kind of to stone and ash kind of situation.
Whoa.
And the whole town treats it like a fun event though, because the fog like rolls so slowly that people can like, so when I was watching it, people were like walking almost as if like, you know, when it's like walk for AIDS, and people are like chatting, like moms are kind of like pushing their strollers, like they're not like running a 5K or running for their lives. And I'm watching it, and it was like some people did trip though and like accidentally get eaten up by the fog and shit like that, but no one was taking it seriously. And I just watched like all these different interactions and people kind of talking about it as like this entire city like walked slowly down this mountain into civilization as like this fog like killed everything in sight. And that was like pretty much like the gist of it.
Interesting.
Now the first thing I thought was like, oh,
So do you?
go on.
I was gonna ask. Do you? So we're analyzing, right? We're
Yeah.
doing Dream Group. Okay,
Yeah.
great. What were you gonna say?
Well, I was gonna say like the first thing that came to my mind was like, but it's something I don't think about that much. So it'd be weird if I had such an intense, vivid dream about it. But right now, as everyone kind of knows, like we're getting like a huge, like big wave of COVID once again. But it feels like more than ever, people are like very, I don't know, blasé about it. Which I was like, I guess that's the
Mm-hmm.
immediate thing that I would go to. If I was like, that feels too easy and too like, I don't know. It's like so not where my mind's been at lately, even though it's like what is the undercurrent of everything.
Well, I mean, to some extent, you could say that like something that isn't on your mind a lot is what you're probably gonna be dreaming about because
That's
like
true. The
dreaming
subconscious.
is the way. Yeah, it's like your unconscious material trying to become more conscious, like um through emotion, right? Through like showing you stories and pictures and creating narrative that you then have a response to. But first thing I want to know is what are your associations with Topanga, or was it Laurel
Laurel
Canyon?
Canyon. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
Topanga would work
What are your
too.
associations?
I don't, you know, I, when
Just say
I,
like 5 words.
do they have to be, like, just real quickly, is it personal or just what I think about in general when I think of Laurel Canyon?
Just free associate. Yeah.
Manson family.
That was
Uh,
my first thought too. Uh-huh.
uh, hippies. Um, I always picture like an old retired artist woman with like long hair. It's just what I always think about.
Okay.
Um, and then I guess like the what am I trying to say? Like the foliage, like the actual plant life and all that that's happening there.
Uh-huh. Okay. And what do you
Joni
associate with
Mitchell.
fog?
That's what I was trying to say. That the lady I think of is Joni Mitchell. I picture like a very
Joni
Joni
Mitchell.
Mitchell person.
Okay. And what about fog?
Oh man, fog. Actually, I think about happiness because I love fog. Like fog makes me thrilled. I think I know San
Mm-hmm.
Francisco is what I think about. Like the Bay Area in general. I do think about like an eeriness as well because it's a lot of like unknown. Um, I guess I don't really have much else to say about fog.
Mystery.
Yeah,
Okay. Um,
I'm sweating with
interesting.
these
So
questions.
I know. I mean, I don't. So this is a great little advertisement for Dream Group because it
Yeah.
shows people sort of the way we talk about dreams. And one of the things that I've learned over the years when you're doing like a dream circle is I would never say, "Oh, this is what the dream means." The way that I was taught to interpret with other people, it's like a co-creative experience. And I would say, if this was my dream,
Oh, look at
um,
that.
but yeah, so if this was my dream, I also associate Laurel Canyon with the Manson murders.
Mm.
I also associate it for me with like my mom lived there in the 70s, actually during the Manson murders.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and that fucked her all up. Uh, but so there's like this element of sort of danger and like helter skelter, right? Like this like
Mm.
unhinged quality to it. And so thinking of that as a setting, usually if I'm thinking of like a dream setting, it's like, okay, it's the location. So it's sort of like a general state of the psyche, right? So there's maybe like a sense of feeling like unhinged. And then you also mentioned like a feminine figure, like an artsy feminine figure. So it's not all like negative. Um, but it
All the
does.
characters in my thing were women too.
Yeah, I was gonna say it does feel like a relationship with like your feminine energy, basically, that feels precarious or dangerous in some way.
Mm.
And also kind of like dismissive.
Mm.
um, of like genuine danger and like not properly like being protective. And so I think that would be like, if this was my dream, I would think about like in what ways are my feminine aspects, which are like, you know, the intuitive, receptive, kind of more like emotional. And I'm obviously, I feel like I don't have to preface that, but I'm not talking about gender. I'm talking about yin and yang energies,
Right.
masculine,
Sun
feminine
and moon.
energies.
Right.
Yes, exactly. And so like sort of more like intuitive, artistic, like more, you know, energetic and flowy states, like how am I feeling about that? And I would think about like how sort of like what's coming up when I'm thinking of like Laurel Canyon and especially like the Manson murders and like that era, is there was a lot of experimentation with psychedelics, right? That was like
Mm.
totally unhinged in a way that was really dangerous. Um,
Some like old
and
school
psychedelics,
bufo.
yeah. Well, Manson, I was talking about this with a friend the other day, but like all that, all of those drugs came from the government at that time
Mm-hmm.
period,
Yeah, a lot of it
because the
was like,
government
go on.
was desperately trying to figure out how to weaponize it, and so
Yep.
they're just pumping it. Anyway, but so I would think about how my relationship with that feels like um, untrusting, basically, or sees it as sort of dangerous. So, like, in what ways am I feeling like if I were to depend on my more like flowy, artistic, intuitive, like receptive state, is feeling like dangerous and irresponsible.
Mm-hmm.
And then with the fog, it's interesting because your psyche chose imagery that like feels actually non-threatening to you.
Yeah,
Um,
typically, but I'm sure in this regard it was. I mean, it was freaky and scary in the dream. Like I felt that sensation of like eeriness.
Yeah, and I do feel, for me personally, when I think of fog, first of all, I do think of like the post-COVID brain fog.
Oh, interesting.
Um, and I was thinking about that when you were talking about it. It also does feel very much like it could just directly be about like people sort of like just moving on with their lives and sort of just making a fun like, oh, did you get COVID?
Yeah.
And that coming with consequences of like turning to stone and like being less capable.
Mm.
Excuse me. um and with the turning to stone, what I also thought about with the fog and like the sort of like mysterious, like I think of fog is sort of what we were talking about with like that depression state when you're like
Mm.
everything just sort of like loses its color and like definition because you're seeing it through this filter of like the and that very much also the turning to stone when it touches you feels very much like that. I think of depression because especially when I start to feel like really depressed, I literally just want to like be perfectly still and lay in bed.
Yeah. Oh,
um
wow. Interesting.
yeah, and so those are my just sort of free associations. So if this was my dream, um I would be, I guess, like
You're
one of
like
the
concerned. I'd be
things you,
very concerned.
I would be checking
Yeah.
my therapist's schedule for the next week. um, no, I what what I tell people next steps are for like, okay, now that you sort of like have these different qualities like um going around in your head, active imagination. I'm not very good at, there's a technique called dream reentry that I'm
Mm-hmm.
not that good at because I usually have trouble entering the exact same dream unless I can do it completely accidentally, because I'm obsessing over it. But I what you can do is do like, okay, a meditation where you're like, I'm gonna go back into this dream
Oh shit. Yeah.
and I can like talk to these figures and just sort of have an active
Yeah.
imagination
That's how you can like
experiment and see like,
lucid dreaming. That those are a lot of techniques for lucid dreaming. Typically, is like meditating on that dream and that setting and that place again, and like writing about it a lot, and like not just the morning, but like right before you go to sleep, maybe even writing about it.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, even the fact that you were like removed from like being in perspective, those dreams that I have always feel like they hold a ton of energy for me. And some of them, like I had years ago and I still don't understand. But they just feel really significant. They hold
Yeah.
a lot of energy. But I also think that I would look at it as like, oh, that's another sort of like dissociative element, right?
Mm.
Where like you're not even participating in the action of the dream itself.
Yeah. I'm just watching these poor honeys just getting eaten up by this fog.
Yeah. That's a really creepy dream, though.
It felt, it's so funny that you phrased it that way, because that's when I woke up from it. It felt like, for that exact reason too. A, because of the fact that I rarely have those like third party type ones, that already gives it like this like kind of loom of importance. And B, like I can't explain it other than like, it wasn't like I woke up like freaked out like I would from like a typically scary nightmare or whatever. Like I just woke up and felt very like I felt like heavy from it, even though I couldn't like name why exactly, other than just there was a heaviness to it. You mentioned about the feminine energy. I don't know if I ever told you this or not, but my uh Venus is in Pisces actually, so it's kind of funny too, because like my,
Oh.
yeah, and my Mars is in Sagittarius, so it's so funny because like my most like feminine one is in my most feminine one, and my most like masculine is in my oh my lord, I'm stroking out. You know what I'm trying to get at. There,
No,
which
I
is like
get
such
it.
a strong like dichotomy between those two.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like I can see that for you too, because I feel like you're of a lot of males that I know, like you're very in touch with like maybe less in touch with like energy as like you are very like comfortable to be around for feminine people because and I think that's also a quality of like having a single mom and or being raised by a single mom, I should say, and
Yeah,
because
and
it sounds
sisters.
like you don't have a single mom right now. Um,
She's
and
locked in the
also
closet. That's the that's the fog. Actually, is her trying to.
get out.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and because you have sisters and
Mm-hmm.
like so you're and like you like are like very patriarchal in some ways in your household where it's like you keep your shit together and you kind of seem to put yourself last in a lot of ways that are very like masculine, where it's like it's about being I'm a provider and I work at a construction company and I wear flannel, you know. God, I'm sorry. Yes. Hello. Hello.
No, I can hear you now. Sorry.
God.
Our stuff. I apologize for the if there's anyone viewing at home right now, and for future listeners, because my internet at that moment was kind of going out too. But I caught most of that except the very end. I heard flannel, and that was all I needed to know, honestly. Um,
I
we
said you're like a provider and you work in construction and you wear flannel.
hell yeah, that's all I need. We are getting close to the hour mark. We did get a couple questions, so we do just quick little like rapid fires,
Rapid fire.
if
Let's
we
do
can.
it.
Especially we got a friend of the show, Marissa, who was on our recent was that a candle or a spider?
It's just literally a patch of fur that was driving me crazy this whole time.
Marissa, who was on our recent Dirty Dancing episode, wanted to know what are the best. There was a couple of them, so we're going to do it one by one. What's the best summertime drink?
Okay.
For me, lemonade. Nothing tops fucking good like cold ass lemonade.
That's funny because I was about to say lemonade and then I was like, I don't even like lemonade. I literally I literally just love like I fill this shit up with water like all day long. I
I noticed
love
that you got that bad boy,
water.
that big bad boy. Are you
I feel like
there?
that's kind of a yes.
Sorry, you all of a sudden
I
it
just
did go
wasn't
quiet again.
I just wasn't saying anything.
What about a summertime snack?
Hmm. Right now, I'm obsessed with these little French cookies called tartlets.
That's right. You told me about that before. You're like, I'm a tartlet.
And I said I identify as a
Oh
tartlet,
yeah.
so I think that's why I like them so much. And whenever I eat them, I like send a picture to my friend down here, and I'm like, a tartlet for a tartlet.
Oh my lord. Oh boy. For me, number one, watermelon, like sliced up. Like when I say sliced up, I mean like it looks like a pizza slice watermelon. Boo! Shame on fucking restaurants who give you like a fruit bowl or whatever. And it's just all sliced like cantaloupe and
Mm.
melons. Like fuck that shit. But like actual like green on the outside, pink on the inside, just like Kermit the Frog. Watermelon. That wasn't funny. I think it's just the heat exhaustion is setting in out, or it's my own. It's the brain
Um,
fog.
you know what I You know what I would freak out though if I could find down here is those little cups of vanilla ice cream with fudge swirls in them and the
Oh
wooden
yeah.
spoons.
Oh, those are so
Oh
good.
man, I fucking love those. And also ice cream sandwiches is classic.
Mm-hmm. What about? She want to know like what's your favorite summertime day trip, like locale? Would that be like a Santa Monica for you?
Local. You mean SoCal?
No, I said.
Or
I said.
oh, local.
Yeah. What did I say? Yeah.
You said local, and I didn't know if you meant low
A
calorie
low
or
calorie day
SoCal.
trip. I didn't even realize I said that. I don't think. Oh, locale. I was saying like LOCALE. Yeah, like your daytime locale,
Right.
day trip locale.
Now that I live
I'm
here,
losing
we're
my
in
mind
from
out of
Los
nowhere.
Angeles.
Let's go back to Los Angeles.
I used to love driving out to the East Palm Springs just for
Okay,
the
yeah,
day, using that because their pool was free during the week and you could just hang out there and it's super chill. It's only like an hour and a half if
yeah.
you drive fast.
There, it. I agree. You can find some cool shit out there. I'm trying to think of where mine would be. Uh, Down there, it would have been like Ventura, Santa Monica, just like in and around like those areas. Because I didn't. As much as I like those two towns, like it's a fucking nightmare to drive out there from like, wherever it is you're coming from in LA. It's a nightmare to get out there and then get back, especially in the summertime because everyone's kind of heading out that way. So, but the few times that you kind of like grin and bear it and you sit through that traffic and get out there, it's nice. But then up here, definitely, I mean, honestly, kind of up by like in Marin, like out in that way, Stinson Beach and all that, just out past Point Reyes. Like basically, for those of you
Mm-hmm.
who don't know, like just go across the Golden Gate Bridge, head north, and then just like immediately cut left towards the coast. Like the beaches out there, whew, it's perfect. Besides when it's crowded. And
Mm-hmm.
then she wanted to,
And freezing cold.
yeah, but I kind of like that because I used to surf a
Yeah.
lot, so I'm like I got used to it. Do you have a summertime song?
Um, LFO Summer Girls.
Oh hell yeah, mine too. I'm stealing yours.
Or Enrique Iglesias Escape. You
um,
can run, you can hide, but you can't escape my love.
Hell yeah. I've been trying to do good about saving like questions we got that we never got to on previous episodes, and I never got a chance to ask you this one because it was asked to you directly. But I feel like it might be a good one for us to maybe end on. Someone wanted to
Right.
know, and this could be either like music or writing, whatever you choose. But someone wanted to know. They asked you specifically, Caitlin, what was your? I just lost it. How do
What was
you
my
how do
block?
you get over writer's block?
Oh, um, tried smoking some frog poison. Um,
For those of you who are listening at home, Caitlin's actually writing a novel at like right off camera, like post Toad Lick.
yeah, honestly, I would say change mediums for a while, like paint. If you
Oh,
can't think of anything to write, paint. If you can't paint, write. Like, and if you're, it depends what you're writing too. I also think meditation for me helps me move through a lot of blocks because it clears my head and like, you can't always be like creating. I think sometimes you have to be like receiving ideas from the ethers or whatever.
right.
So you have to make space. And so like literally just sit and focus on your breath for 10 minutes and a day and see if that changes anything. That's for me super helpful.
Hell yeah, I'm into it. Um, okay, I did pull up a patented personality test because we're getting close to the hour mark, and I like to keep it like a nice smooth hour on these episodes. But let's do this real quickly, Caitlin, because I'm curious now. On the other side of this Toad experience, do I have paranormal powers? So we're gonna figure out if you
Ooh,
have paranormal powers, Caitlin.
I know for sure I do.
Well, only
Quiz
Drew,
over.
only Drew who created this. He created it in 2020, May of 2020. We're talking about
Wow.
like the golden early days of Goth Yearbook and quarantine. Which of these pastimes do you prefer? Out with a friend, a nice walk in the park, exercising / playing sports, going to a museum or library, or going shopping. Actually, they say going shopping or to an amusement park as the same. Those are two wildly
Oh,
different things, but I guess treat yourself is the maybe big thing there.
I like the idea and like not going to work for a few weeks and like starting to fuck around with like his telekinesis powers and like like creating this twist after 2 months.
Yeah.
Can you say the first two again? You cut out a little.
Hanging out with friends, a nice walk in the park.
Uh-huh. I love a nice walk in the park.
I am fucking sweating right now. Holy shit. It gets warmer and warmer in this house. Uh, if you were to look at a piece of paper featuring each of the following colors, this is like a nice, like slick, different way of doing the color ones. Which would your eyes be drawn to? Not which one would you prefer. All right, I like this. So, which one would your eyes be just automatically they're going to be drawn to? A pale blue / pale green, a silver, white, or black, a deep red, a navy blue / forest green, or a pink and golden yellow.
I think a deep red.
That'd be what your eye would go to first.
I feel like, yeah. I tend to go to like more vibrant colors instead of like cooler ones.
Well, we'll see what Drew had to say about that. Which of these animal types is your personality most like? Some type of bug, some type of fish, a large animal, some type of cat, or some type of bird?
I like how completely non-committal these.
Yeah.
Uh,
A large animal.
How large, Drew?
Yeah, right.
Definitely some type of cat.
Some type of cat, not bird.
No, I definitely like sleeping a lot and getting head rubs.
Yeah. And your tartlets.
Yeah.
Your thoughts on your grade school experience? It was exciting, painful, fun, boring, or challenging?
That's before middle school, or
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
all of it.
Like 1K through 8 at the very most, if not K.
I mean, because it was exciting and then it got painful by 7.
I was gonna say like there's like a roller coaster of emotions that happen. What about like a 5th grade, like average?
I was still pretty excited.
Okay.
Spice Girls was 5th grade. That was huge.
The scene on the street, Spice Girls. Caitlin, 5th grade. Which of these names would you choose for a new female kitten? All right, here we go. Lolly, Mittens, Sally, Pepper, or Zoe?
What was the second one?
Mittens, the classic.
Mittens. Oh, cute.
I know.
I'm gonna say Zoe because I've always wanted to have a black cat named Zodiac.
Nice. Which field could you see yourself working in as an adult? Animal welfare, something medical, a job that helps make change, working with children, or law? What if it was like law, Jude?
Well, I still have time to become an adult, so I'm going to go with animal welfare, even though it's completely unrelated to anything I do.
What color hair do you have? Well, I can see it right now. All
It's
right.
blue.
Blue is not an option. Sorry, Marge Simpson. Which of these school subjects are you the best at? Social studies slash history, science, gym, math, or English?
English.
Hell yeah. Not some nerdy ass fucking math. Pick a letter between these letters. S, H, R, L, A.
S.
What word do you think of when you think of S?
Snake.
It's so funny when I saw this list and saw S, the first thing I thought of was Sarah Jessica Parker. I'm not even joking. Okay, and then finally, this is interesting. I'm curious to see where this goes. Pick a number between 1, 5, 3, 9, or 4.
5.
Okay. What if this turned into like a mash game? It's like you'll live with your 5 kids and Sarah Jessica Parker. All right. For 70%, you have the potential of being able to predict the future, or maybe you can already do it. Next time a thought suddenly pops in your head, jot it down. It might come true. Oh, and if you dream in numbers, buy a lotto ticket. Whoa, interesting. I think you buzzed out right as I read that, but it's Caitlin. If you can hear this right now, you're okay. I see you again. Your face, like, it perfectly cut you out, and your like eyes are closed, and you're just kind of like, as if you're like receiving the information. What are your thoughts on that? Because I didn't get anything that you said. If you said anything,
I just said wow a few times.
wow. Well,
Wow.
great. That exciting. Do you feel like you can see the
Yeah.
future? Do you feel like you have the sight of second sight?
I think so. I think I can see at least the present.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of us can. Well, no, that's not true. A lot of people live, they live in the past or they worry about the future. Not a lot of people can be present minded. So,
And I'm gonna keep licking frogs and see what I can see.
hell yeah. Well, on that note, that's the perfect time for us to call it a night. Again, Todd Glass next week. I'm super excited. I've been fucking following this gentleman for quite literally like 2 decades almost. I'm a big fan. Very excited. I'll be posting about that all this next week. Caitlin, do you want to tell people real quickly about the dream thing one more time?
Yeah, for sure. Monday nights for the rest of May, and then I think it's probably gonna move to a Patreon offering for like a $5 a month kind of thing. But if you want to join the Dream Group right now and be in it forever for free, it's basically just a Zoom link I send out, and we're meeting on Monday nights, and I'm gonna probably change that after May and do something that is more accommodating to different people, because I've had some folks reach out and say that time doesn't work, but that they're interested. So if you have any questions about that, you can either sign up for the email at CaitlinDDreams.com, or you can go to my Instagram profile. The link is there. It's at Caitlin D with 3 E's. And if you have any questions about it, yeah, you can just DM me. And basically, it's not like I send out every week like a bunch of resources and like sort of like journal prompts and course materials that like you don't have to do. It's not like a class. Like really, It's just a community space to go and talk about. First of all, we check in sort of like a group therapy way. Honestly, it's like we just talk about where we're at, what we're going through, and then we talk about our dreams and just do sort of fun, open-ended interpretations. And it's fun, and I want you to come.
Hell yeah. There you had it, folks. Turned a little Dracula there. I want you to come.
I still am like dealing with some like chest congestion post virus, and I'm like starting to fill up with mucus. So it's probably a good time to end.
Well, fair enough. Well, on that note, Caitlin, as always, thank you for being the co-host with the Mo host. I'm going to say goodnight to y'all being you.
Good night.
Good night.